duty of an advanced devotee in the 3 stages of devotional life. In the lowest stage, a devotee is simply concerned with the deity in the temple, and he worships the Lord with great devotion, according to the rules and regulations. In the 2nd stage, so that's the lowest stage, and what's that called, the Sanskrit term for that? Kanishka, not Bhagavata or Nistaraka. So that's on the lowest stage. So what is the lowest stage? Yes, summarize what the lowest stage is.
The lowest stage is where the devotee is more inclined towards deity.
No, that's not what it said. The more inclined wasn't included.
Simply where he worships the Lord
Yes.
according to rules and regulations.
Yes. And that's only the Lord is the object of his devotion, which of course is wonderful, and therefore he's considered a bhakta. But, the word but must come next. But he doesn't show respect to the Lord's devotees. So his devotion is focused simply on the Lord. But he doesn't respect other living entities. This is described in, who knows where this is described? Raise your hand if you know where this is described. What canto of the Bhagavatam?
11th canto.
Yes. 11th canto, 2nd chapter, but also in Kapila Muni's teachings. And 3rd canto. Yes. So that's the lower class of devotees. And then this, Prabhupada started this purport, is the duty of an advanced devotee in the 2nd stage, so that's the madhyam, to act in accordance with this verse. An advanced devotee in the madhyam stage again, in the lowest stage, a devotee is simply concerned with the deity in the temple, and he worships the Lord with great devotion according to the rules and regulations. He's following everything strictly. But he doesn't, what isn't said, but which is said in other places, that he doesn't treat the other devotees and other living entities properly. So that's not such exalted. It is exalted consciousness because it's focused on the Lord. In the 2nd stage, the devotee is cognizant, aware of his relationship with the Lord first, his relationship with fellow devotees. He's cognizant, he's aware of his relationship with the Lord, his relationship with fellow devotees, his relationship with persons who are innocent, and his relationship with persons who are envious. So he knows how to deal with these 4 different kinds of people, and he treats each one of those differently. Now, who remembers the 4? Raise your hand up. Or 1. We'll make it easy. Who remembers one of the 4 without looking at your mobile phone or your other technological gadget? Yes, 1.
With envious people.
Okay, the envious, that's 1. He knows how to deal with them. And 2nd, another, wait, no. Yes? Did someone raise their hand? Yes? With what word did Prabhupada use in the purport is fellow devotees. In other words, there's a camaraderie amongst the devotees. Because devotees is someone who's actually devoted to the Supreme Lord is very rare. So instead of just seeing him by the conditioning that annoys us, perhaps, we should see the soul as very rare and see the devotion that they have, that they're directing towards the Supreme Lord. So to see in that way and not just see according to their bodily, mental, cultural, etc. conditioning, and to see the devotion that they have wonderful to see the good, to see others, devotees, as we would like other devotees to see us. It's wonderful consciousness. And what was the third one? The envious, we said, the fellow devotees, and the innocent. I wonder what Prabhupada said about them. The persons who are innocent. So there's a relationship that the devotee has because he has a relationship with Krishna. So he has a relationship with these four different kinds of living entities, human beings too. So what's his relationship with the innocent? We will hear soon, but they're innocent. So it's not just with the Supreme Lord that we have a relationship, which is the vision of a Kanishka of the lower class. Not only with the devotees, but with the innocent. And then the fourth is with, that was the first one mentioned, the envious. So he treats all of these four differently, but he has a relationship with them. Sometimes devotees are ill-treated by envious persons. It is advised that an advanced devotee should get deep revenge. Is that right? Did I get that? No. There is a saying, do unto others before others do unto you. That's not the proper way. An advanced devotee should be tolerant to tikshava, tolerant to tikshava. There's also a verse in the third canto, to tikshava karunaka. Sarvadehinam. Yeah, so this is it's born of consciousness, and if you don't have the right consciousness and try to do these things just by intelligence, I'm supposed to act in this way, you can't do it really fully. But if one's Krishna consciousness, an advanced intermediate, because we all like to think we are advanced, well, how we do these things really tells us how advanced we actually are. Are we able to tolerate difficulties? You should be tolerant. You should show complete mercy to persons who are ignorant or innocent. What word really stands out there? Okay, that wasn't the word that stood out for me. Mercy. But there was one word right before the word mercy. Complete mercy. This is not only the vision, but he's in the advanced middle Madhyam devotee. He's showing complete mercy. Not partial mercy, but complete mercy. Complete mercy means what? So Prabhupada will move things towards preaching. But a preacher devotee is meant to show mercy to innocent persons whom he can elevate to devotional service. That is complete mercy. Everyone, by constitutional position, is an eternal servant of God. Therefore, a devotee's business is to awaken everyone's Krishna consciousness. That is his mercy. As for a devotee's treatment of other devotees who are his equals, so we'll go back to, so he said how to deal with the innocent, and how to, okay, let's see, here's the examination. How to deal with the innocent. What did Prabhupada say in his purport? Without looking, you all know everyone's being so pumped humble and shy. What did he say?
Complete mercy.
Yes. And how did he define that complete mercy?
Awakening Krishna consciousness.
Huh?
Awakening Krishna consciousness.
In them, by preaching. And bringing them to devotional service. Bringing them in relationship to Krishna. Now, everyone has their back to Krishna. And who will we have demonstrate this? We'll get, come, stand up. Now, come, walk towards me. Usually I do this, but my knees hurt. Okay. Yes, he has his back to all of you. Yes, now face. Okay. No, come back. Now turn your back on everyone. Now it's not nice when someone puts their back to you. Yes? But you are understanding. Okay. Thank you so much. He did that with a broken right hand and everything, fractured, excuse me. So right now, everyone has their back to Krishna. Even though we have a relationship with Krishna, our back is to Krishna. We're not living in that relationship. And if your back is to the sun, what do you see? If your back is to the sun, I heard someone say it, not necessarily darkness. You see shadows. You see your own shadow. Especially, you don't see who you really are. You don't see things accurately. You see shadow existence. So that is this world living in a shadow existence of reality. Not in relationship to Krishna, not seeing things as they are. And therefore looking only outside in the world of shadows for happiness. And it is not there. It's just simply not there. So therefore to have them face the Supreme Personality of Godhead is kindness, to have them live kindness in this life and kindness in future lives. Everyone by constitutional position is an eternal servant of God. Therefore, a devotee's business is to awaken everyone's Krishna consciousness. This was Prabhupada's mood in establishing his ISKCON society. The mood of awakening the Krishna consciousness of others. And it's written in Chaitanya Charitamrita that there are two special means of advancing that Mahaprabhu gave. This is one of the verses that Krishnadas Kaviraj gave. And one is the holy names and the other is preaching. Prabhupada. And Prabhupada even said, and listen to this, he said in a letter that without preaching, the whole institution becomes rubbish. Rubbish is such an awful word in English. Useless, just to be rejected. He wanted ISKCON to be a preaching movement, a compassionate movement, a merciful movement, a movement based on knowledge, transcendental knowledge of who we are, who everyone else is, and not just take care of oneself, but to help others. And Prabhupada even personally told me, because nowadays everyone acknowledges the relationship with Prabhupada. Maybe we can keep the door open, so there's a little extra air inside. Maybe we can keep the door open if you're not going to do that in the system. Prabhupada even told me personally, and again, nowadays everyone acknowledges their relationship with Prabhupada as ISKCON's founder, Acharya, and everyone's Shiksha Guru. So Prabhupada told me, it is my standing order, that means continuous and always standing order to all my disciples, that means everyone, to preach Krishna gives you the opportunity to preach, he said, you should take it. So this was the spirit that Prabhupada had. And he wanted to pass that spirit to all others. Now, in that is, if Krishna gives you the opportunity to preach, you should take it. So, is there an opportunity to preach? Is there a need in the world? Prabhupada criticized India in those days for keeping this knowledge locked up. We use that term, locked up. In other words, not distributing this great wealth that is just naturally a part of the culture. Just being born, and he said there's a special fortune about taking birth in India. And that is that, as he said, even the cultivator, even the farmer knows that he's not his body. And even the farmer is going to be careful about how he acts. And then he gave two examples. Lord Brockway, who we spoke to recently before that in England, and Professor Katowski. And he quoted Lord Brockway saying, when asked by Prabhupada, what will happen when you die? And he said, or what is your goal in life? And he said, he was already 84 years old. He was older than Srila Prabhupada. But he was born in Calcutta, spent some time there. He was a British lord. But he said, I want to die peacefully, something like that. If you think about it, no one dies peacefully. Everyone dies fighting it like anything. And then Professor Katowski, he cited saying, Swamiji, after death, everything is finished. But rather, Prabhupada wanted the distribution of knowledge, and in Melbourne, I also heard him say, why are we so interested in book distribution? Because it's distribution of knowledge. And then he repeated it again, because it's distribution of knowledge. And that's one thing so wonderful about this temple. There's so much education going on, so much learning, so much studying. It would be so nice if there was real expert distribution too of transcendental knowledge, because there's a need. There's such a need. Why are the parents so eager to send their children to the best school, or good school, or keep them home? Is because they want them to get proper education. Such a value, so intelligent, to give the gift of education to others. But why? Because why do we give?
Education creates a foundation for their life.
Exactly, for their future. You act now for the future. The children just want to play. The parents know that if they just play, they're not going, their future might be difficult. So the same type of affection based on relationship. Here is saying, Prabhupada is saying, and Swami Bhurijana is saying, is that we do have a relationship with others, with the innocent, with the devotees, with the Supreme Lord, even the envious, the inimical, who we reject, don't associate with. But we do have a relationship. Relationship means responsibility. So this is very, Prabhupada had this at the heart of his Krishna consciousness movement, the practical heart. And people always ask for blessings. But if you want blessings, you have to do something for. I mean, you don't have to, but this is how it attracts the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the deities, that we try to he engaged in this pravachana and preaching. Didn't think you were going to get a Sankirtan class, did you? What can I do? The verses of the Baptists. So, therefore, a devotee's business is to awaken everyone's Krishna consciousness, including his own or her own. That is his mercy. Also, we should be merciful to ourselves. As for a devotee's treatment of other devotees who are his equals, he should maintain friendship with them. His general view should be to see every living entity as part of the Supreme Lord. What is his general view? Thank you. Yeah, everyone is really, maybe I've frightened everyone today, I don't know. His general view should be to see every living entity as part of the Supreme Lord. Different living entities appear in different forms of dress, meaning the bodies. But according to the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, a learned person sees all living entities equally. Such treatment by the devotee is very much appreciated by the Supreme Lord. Because Krishna consciousness means to turn towards Krishna, to turn towards our relationship with Krishna, which means acting to please Him. Samsadim Haritoshanam, acting to please Him, instead of acting in illusion, just as if I'm the center and my whole existence is meant to please me. And that's how people work. And basically thinking the more selfish I am, the happier I'm going to be. The more I get from me, the happier I'm going to be. But actually, the more selfish a person is, the more lonely he becomes. Because naturally, in relationship to Krishna and to all others, do we believe this? At least while we're in the temple room, we should believe it. And then as soon as we walk outside, but at least we're in front of the Lord. We should put this in our consciousness and act in such a way that Krishna is pleased. And the more we actually think like that, in an unselfish way, the more we act to please Krishna. Why? Because we have a relationship with Him, and Krishna is very kind. And we hear about Krishna in Vrindavan, and the relationships with Krishna are so sweet and so full of ecstasy that it appeals to us. And just by hearing about Krishna in Vrindavan, how Krishna and the cowherd boys one day were in a forest just in what direction is it? East of Govardhana. And in a certain season, the breezes, I think it's after the summer season, the breezes blow from west to east in that area. And the cowherd boys went they smelt the fruit from Talavan, which is the east, on the east side of Govardhana. And they said, "Oh, Krishna, can you smell these fruits? Nearby there is the forest known as Talavan. Raise your hand if you've been to Talavan. Raise your hand if you've not yet been to Talavan. There is still one tall tree there, I think, in the temple. Or two, maybe. But the boys said to Krishna, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice to have these tal fruits because they're so tasty and they're very cooling, so it's the hot season." So, oh Krishna, there's one problem though. In that forest, there's a very powerful demon. And he's in the shape of a donkey. And Krishna and Balaram began to laugh. Powerful demon in the shape of a donkey. They began to laugh. Balaram, and Krishna put Balaram in front. So Krishna wanted to please the devotees, his devotees, the cowherd boys. The devotees want to please Krishna, and Krishna wants to please the cowherd boys, his devotees. This is the reciprocation. It's not just Krishna, some tyrannical tyrant king god. Everyone just has to please him, and if you don't please him, he's going to make you miserable, and he's going to drop a piano on your head or something like that. No, it's not like that. If you don't please me,
if you don't please me, you cannot be happy.
no, so he loves the exchanges. That's what Prajanta Vedanyata. He loves to exchange with his devotees. He even becomes conquered by his devotees. He becomes indebted to his devotees. And then he thought, so he wanted Balaram, because Balaram hadn't killed any demons yet. In what chapter is this passed on? Of the 10th canto? I'll give you a hint. It's the one after the 14th chapter. Yes, very good, 15th chapter. This is when Krishna enters the forest of Vrindavan for the first time, which occurred just on Gopastami, when Krishna began to take out the cows for the first time. The first time Krishna took out the cows. And right after that, in that same chapter, it describes a Samya Garman, Samyavat, Samya Garman, Isachestita. Even though he was with cowherd boys and village boys, he's still the Supreme Lord, and he performed activities that the Isha would perform, the Supreme Lord would perform, and this is one of them. So Balaram went first, because Krishna wanted to not have the pleasure of killing Dinukasura, and as soon as Balaram got into the forest, he began breaking the tall trees, and then the trees began to fall from the ground. They're ripe during the season. And then when the Dinukasura heard these trees falling, excuse me, not the trees falling, but the fruits, tall fruits falling, he became very angry. His mood was, this is my forest, and you come to my forest and disturb my trees and my forest. And it's especially interesting, our Acharya says, and this is envy, because he couldn't, because he was in the shape of a donkey, he couldn't eat the tall fruits. But even though he couldn't eat them, he didn't want anyone else to eat them either. My forest. Who is coming to my forest? It was Balaram. So he came to Balaram very, very angry. How dare you come into my forest and disturb my tall trees? He didn't say it in English. He expressed it in donkey language, in angry donkey language. And he went to Balaram, and he turned his back on Balaram, and he ready to kick him with his hind legs. And he was powerful. Tried to kick Balaram with his hind legs. And when he kicked Balaram one time, Balaram didn't react at all, which made him even more angry. So he went around snorting and cutting up the ground and more angry. And then he went to turn his back on Balaram a second time. He tried to kick him with his hind legs again. Balaram just grabbed his hind legs and began to whirl him around and around and around, and then threw him into one of the tall trees of the forest. And the tall trees began falling down. And then his friends, and if he was a bad, because it said that a person is known by the company he keeps. So he was a donkey. And what do you think his friends were? Yes, they were all donkeys, and they were all envious. So they began to attack Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna, there's this wonderful painting of this, Krishna throwing, then Krishna joined the fun and they threw them into all the trees. Krishna has such a clever way of killing demons, he threw them into trees. And then the trees, because of the weights of them, they began to fall down into each other, and it was as if a great hurricane, typhoon had passed through, and they all fell down. But they were quite dead. But they were so fortunate because they got so much benefit by being killed by Krishna. And Krishna and the coward boys were laughing because they knew always we are with Krishna. And they loved these pastimes. They loved to watch Krishna perform these amazing activities, and they were filled with such happiness because he was their Krishna. Our Krishna is so wonderful. He is the best friend. And look what he did. Look. And then the boys would make songs about this. And when they were coming home from the forest, this is actually described at the end of this 15th chapter, they'd be coming home from the forest, and all the residents of Vrindavan, they would be waiting for Krishna to come home, so that they could see him, so that they could just seeing him fill them with such happiness. They were just waiting for this moment. So they would wait, and as soon as they would see the dust rising in the horizon, and then they would hear the sound of the flute, and then they would see the forms of the cows, and then they would see Krishna dancing, Gita Kirti, the cowboy boys would be chanting songs. They would make up songs based on what Krishna had done during the day, and everyone would hear these songs and think, oh, Krishna has come back and he's done so many wonderful things. And they would see Krishna dancing and playing his flute, and his form and his garland would be covered with the dust raised by the cows, and he'd be looking so beautiful and so effulgent, and everyone was filled with so much love for Krishna. That's in relationship with Krishna. And to help people develop that is true mercy, true kindness. And it is pleasing to Krishna, just like naturally, if a parent sees someone helping his child, beloved child, he feels so pleased and wants, and his heart melts and wants to benedict that person or give him whatever he can. So all living entities are children of Krishna, and when Krishna sees that someone is compassionately trying to help the other living entities, the other souls in their bodies, regardless of their bodies, what to speak of humans, he becomes so satisfied. So this was the spirit that Prabhupada put into his Krishna consciousness movement. The compassion. He even said in Melbourne that he was talking to the devotees, and I was also there. And he was talking about how compassionate the devotees were. And I was thinking, I don't have the slightest bit of compassion. And later on I understood how Prabhupada was speaking to the sort of the best part of us, wanting that part to grow. So we were all young, and young and didn't know very much and everything, but Prabhupada's, whatever qualities, good qualities, a little spark maybe that was there, he wanted to fan that spark. So he wanted us, our compassion to grow. What's the opposite of compassion? By raising hands, so, because I can't hear everyone with their different ideas.
Cruelty.
Cruelty, yes, another opposite. Yes,
Exploitation.
exploitation, yeah, seeing other people as objects or other living entities. And no one likes that at all, it's so disrespectful. No one likes to be treated like that. Seeing as if your existence is meant just for my pleasure. And it doesn't make a difference what you like, what you want. Your existence is meant for my pleasure. That's how people treat the poor animals. It's very sad. Another, what's the opposite of, yes? Indifference. Yes. Actually, it is said that neglect or indifference, that's what Bhurijana, after kidnapping Nanda Maharaj, not he did it, Nanda Maharaj was there, he was just so afraid. And then he said, Krishna, please either punish me or be merciful to me, but don't be indifferent to me. Don't neglect me. Yes, another word. Yes.
Being inconsiderate of others.
Huh?
Being insensitive or
Insensitive and inconsiderate, yeah.
Ignoring.
Ignoring, yes. Yes. Hating. Hating, yes. Hating. Opposite of compassionate. I was also thinking of one word, a simple word, that just selfishness, which is mentioned in different ways. Just all of that. Life is all about me and what I want. And it's such an unhappy consciousness. And if you're feeling empty, it is well known in all spiritual circles. If you're feeling you need mercy, you should give mercy. And then Krishna will give you extra mercy. Do you need mercy? Yes. Do you need mercy?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
You? You? How much do you need? I agree with
A lot.
How much is a lot? With your hands, show me how much a lot is.
I cannot do that much bigger
Why do you need so much mercy?
because then I can do nicely the service of the Lord.
Why do you need so much mercy?
So I can chant nicely for the Lord, glorify the Lord.
So you can chant nicely. Why do you need so much mercy? So you can help. Do you like to help other people?
Yeah.
How much would you like to help other people?
A lot. So I can serve the Lord. Preach.
So you say, preach. You need mercy?
Yeah,
How much?
an ocean.
An ocean. Wow. Hey Krishna, Krishna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu Jayapate, Hey Shivo, Bharakanta, Bharakanta Namaste. Well, they're here. They've come very mercifully by Prabhupada's mercy, by Prabhupada's kindness. So please, ask him for mercy, them for mercy. And if you feel so unqualified to even ask for mercy, then you can go to Nitai and Gaur But first go to, I guess it's this way. And then it's just so hard not to be in a happy mood when you see Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra though. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes, Mataji.
I was just wondering if somebody doesn't want to know Krishna and they don't know Krishna, how to treat them?
How to?
Treat them.
Well, maybe if someone is averse to Krishna, then you can't preach to them. But sometimes we could give them prasadam, or if they hear the holy name or something like that, that's very helpful. But for someone who is not considered, it's considered an aparad to preach to those who are faithless. But the devotees, understanding the mood of Krishna, they are intelligent in the way that they present it, that they don't directly confront the faithlessness of the devotees. And of course, Prabhupada recommended book distribution to sadhana distribution, Harinam, Sankirtan. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, understanding that, we are obviously around different people on different levels of consciousness. So, on the spiritual self-awareness platform, we are meant to see everybody as on a level of equality with us as a part of Krishna and treat them with friendship and compassion. But then we come across this mental level of self-awareness. We see there are some people who pull us down, there are others who lift us up. So how do we practically deal with
Practical. Yes. We always have to act practically. We always must act practically. And this comes up in Kapila Muni's teachings, just after he describes the equality of all living entities, and then he describes different kinds of living entities. So, and he uses an example of, for instance, a tiger. So you may see him as a spirit soul, but when you see a devotee, you may embrace the devotee, but don't embrace the tiger. But it's very dangerous. So we always have to act practically. We have to know the theoretical, the philosophical truth, but wisdom is to act practically. So your question was how to deal with all these different kinds of people that we have to deal with in the world. And there's so many devotees. Just like we say, oh, prasadam distribution. So I know devotees say this is very difficult if you're in the office, because if you give them a prasadam cookie, they want to give you their food. And then get yourself, I want you to accept this, but I won't eat what you give me. So things are tricky. And one has to deal very wisely with the complexities of material existence. But you're not alone. Almost everyone is in the same circumstance. And we shouldn't, when you're dealing with a dangerous person, for example, an envious person, you have to be very careful. Yeah, shouldn't be foolish. So that's a good balancing point. But the inside point, our inside should be compassionate. And like Dhruva Maharaj, he got overly angry by Krishna's arrangement. So Swayambhuva Manu provided some balance to this preaching. So we shouldn't, when someone is in the office, for example, is causing us trouble, we should act in a very, very practical way. We have to learn the way of dealing in the jungle of the material world. For we have to learn how to practically act, but we don't take it as seriously. We don't want deep revenge, and we shouldn't want deep revenge, we shouldn't want to see the person suffering. I remember once, no, it's not a good example, but yeah, we don't, you see these people suffering, people, they're cruel sometimes even because of their deep selfishness, but they're not happy. You can't be happy like that. So sometimes you see them get the reactions to for the way that they treat others. And even though that you may have been one of the ones that they didn't treat nicely, they tried to harm actually, when you see them suffering, still they get heart attacks and this and that, Still, it doesn't give pleasure to the heart to see the suffering of another. So we act practically, but we don't put our consciousness in a revengeful mood. So it takes some advancement. Because the mind naturally has its streak of wickedness. Okay, last question. Okay, Hagriva, you ask him your question, and he'll ask you your question. Okay, yes. This is your last.
Like as we start practicing Krishna consciousness, we realize there's so much impurities in our heart, and our mind is so conditioned. So how to deal with this fear that the mind takes over at some point?
I'm sorry.
So how to deal with this fear that the mind will take over at some point? That we're not able to deal with the issue to the end.
With Krishna consciousness?
Like with our mind, with our conditioning. Because you realize it's just so big, so much. And it seems like an impossible thing, actually.
Yeah. But that fearfulness of losing the jewel of Krishna consciousness is very, very healthy. This is described when Prabhupada's purport in the second chapter of the 10th canto, where there's an explanation of the killing of the 6 children in Devaki, who were born of Devaki before Lord Baladev was born, and then Krishna was born as the 8th child, and described by Prabhupada in the purport that is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarja, and the other one, Mohan, illusion. So all these things, Prabhupada, all these different emotions that come to a conditioned soul, they will steal away our Krishna consciousness. So that's what you're saying, how to not fall into that. So we have to become humble and pray to Krishna. So therefore Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtaniya Siddhahari, and really that's the only solution, is to always be praying to Krishna to help you by chanting, etc. But we should be in that specific mood of not wishing to lose the jewel of that we've gained somehow or another, of our fortune and our sincerity, and we should be praying to Krishna to protect us. And when we get an attack of one of these items on the mind, then we should take that as Krishna reminding us that we have to think about him and pray to him and take shelter of him. You have to talk amongst yourselves now because the class is over. Come. You can ask for the person who's giving class tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much.